tremendous crowds which you see gathered outside the stock exchange are due to the greatest crash in the history of the New York Stock Exchange.
Good evening. Today is Black Monday, the day the Dow dropped more than 500 points. The day the Dow dropped more than 20.
The Dow tumbled more than 500 points, set down by bad mortgage investments. Lehman, which has 25,000 employees, will be liquidated.
It is definitely a very, very difficult time, and it's not going to get better quickly.
Recessions. Just that one word is enough to summon up images of graphs depicting downward trends, alarming news headlines, fear, unemployment, bankruptcy. And it's all true. During times of recession, the stock market falls, house prices fall, businesses go bankrupt, people lose their jobs, life savings are lost, pensions that people have been putting money in since the start of their working careers vanish. Nobody is winning. Or are they? If recessions were so bad, why would someone like Warren Buffett, who's the fourth richest man in the world, say he hopes to see a lot more recessions? How did a company like Groupon, which started during the peak of the 2008 financial crisis, spread to 300 markets and 35 countries within the space of 2 years? Meanwhile, other businesses are collapsing. Or why would Panera Bread's executive chairman and founder say the best time to grow is in a recession? While some see recession as a time of turmoil, it looks like others are seeing it as a golden opportunity. And if you've ever wondered why that is, or how you, the one that's watching this video, can profit from a recession, then keep watching, because I'm about to show you how recessions have created more millionaires than lottery winnings have. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to take advantage of the next inevitable recession that comes our way. And here's a little tip. The younger you are, the more you're going to want to pay attention to this. The health of a country's economy is usually measured by its GDP, which stands for Gross Domestic Product. Put simply, the GDP measures the total value of all the goods and services in a country. So every time you get a coffee or a haircut or buy a new car, all of those things contribute to a country's GDP. Now, generally, a growing GDP is good and a declining GDP is bad. And if a country's GDP has been declining for 6 months, then it's considered a recession. People will stop spending as much money, business profits will decline, people will lose their jobs, and then they can't repay debts, etc., etc. A recession can really lead into a downward spiral. And you're probably wondering, okay, James, I get that, but what causes a recession? And there's the thing, you never really know for sure. There's so many factors and variables that contribute to any recession that it's hard to pinpoint one thing. Which leads us to the first rule. Nobody can predict the market.
Okay, if you're Warren Buffett or if you're Jimmy Buffett, nobody knows if the stock is going to go up, down, sideways, or in fucking circles.
Does that make you anxious? Because if you're going to profit from a recession, there's one thing you need to know. Do not panic. Because no matter how bad the market looks, there's one thing that people like Warren Buffett know for sure. The market will always bounce back. Write that one down, because it's all fun and games when the economy is in a boom, but when the inevitable crash happens, guess what people do? They panic and they start to sell. The homes that they own decrease in value, so they sell it. The stocks that they have decrease in value, so they sell it. Notice how I said when the inevitable crash happens. Why inevitable? I thought you said you can't predict the market, James. Perhaps it would have been more accurate for me to say you can't time the market, because one thing is for sure, the market will always eventually crash. So there are your 3 rules, remember them clearly, and don't panic. The economy is booming. People are spending their money like crazy, buying the latest clothes, gadgets, whatever their hearts desire. It is consuming time. And that means credit cards are flying out of wallets, people are racking up debt like crazy, but it's all good. The economy is flourishing. So what are you doing? Now is the time to sharpen your weapons, rally your army, because whilst everyone is getting greedy, this is the time to prepare for disaster. Remember, the market will always crash. And although you might not know when, how, or why, it is always important that you prepare before it happens. The first step is to stop spending like everybody else. Start saving and building up your capital. Avoid debt as much as possible and build up your credit score. When that inevitable crash comes, you want to be the one with deep pockets and a healthy credit score, ready to take advantage of those juicy low interest rates that come with a recession. There's nothing worse than being surrounded by gold with no tools to harvest it. Got all of that? Good. Because there's an economic collapse on the way, and it's time to make your riches. Death, divorce, defaults. It is these three things that reign supreme during a recession. In a society where money is heavily relied upon for keeping the system going, the collapse of that very object has dramatic consequences. And the bigger the crash, the harder the hit. In a recession, you can expect people to lose their jobs, and you can expect people who have still kept their jobs to have their income reduced. And this means that people will be unable to pay off things like mortgages or any other debts that they've racked up during those sweet times of economic boom. There's a rise in panic and in fear, and everybody is selling. They're selling their stocks, they're selling their houses, they're selling assets that they once had seen grow in value, now decline. Nobody is even thinking about investing their money.